channel, That's It Mama Bear. I'm Karen, and this beauty here is Lily. I can't believe she's already almost 2 months old. We live in Canada, Ontario, and I just wanted to talk about my journey as a new mom, which starts with the birth story. Yeah, that bird. Oh my god, she just fell asleep in my arms right here. So the due date was on September 1st, and prior to that point I had a lot of Braxton Hicks that was going on. They were starting in the evening and stopping right for bedtime. But in the night of September 1st and September 2nd, it was a full moon. And right in the morning of September 2nd at 8 a.m. I started to have my first contractions. They were 10 to 20 minutes apart. They felt like menstrual cramps with some pressure at the bottom. I could still talk through them. I could still go on with my day. So I went bouncing on my yoga ball, doing some hip circle. I went for walks. I did some house cleaning. On the evening, we went at my mom and dad place. They were helping us by fixing my car's brake. And the contractions were actually getting closer together, more painful. I could still talk through them, but I had to stop moving when they were happening. Everyone was so excited, and around 9 we decided, okay, it's time, we're gonna go home, get some rest, because at that point I think we can say that it was going to happen soon. We went home, we lay down in bed, and then the contractions spaced out to about 20 minutes again. Although they were becoming really more painful. And at some point I had actually to get up, go on the couch, trying to bounce on the ball, but I was really uncomfortable, but they wouldn't get closer. Although I think it was a sign for my body to just trying to get some rest, because between them I was actually falling back asleep, and as soon as another one would start, I would woke up again. So that's how the night went on. My husband worked from home, and on September 3rd, his alarm went on around 7:30, and he asked me, okay, am I opening my computer and start working or not? Because he worked from home since my OB wanted us to stay at home a month prior to my due date, just in case with COVID-19, because if he would have been sick, he could have been with me for the birth of our little girl. So yeah, around 7:30, he's asking me if he's starting to work or not. I just told him, I don't know yet. I just don't know. Let me take a shower. I'll come back to you after. I go in the shower. I start to shave my legs, but I had to stop like 5 or 6 times for contractions, and at that point I had like my hand on the wall. I had to breathe through them, and if someone would ask me questions, I just couldn't talk anymore. They were getting really, really painful. After having 5 or 6 of them in the shower, I finally finished the shower. I get out, I go see my husband. I'm like, how much time did I I spend in the shower? He's like, well, about 15 minutes. Oh, geez, and I have 5 or 6 of them? Yeah, you're not working this morning. I think we better get moving and go to the hospital, because now they're about like 4 minutes apart. We called my mom because she had to take care of our dog. So I explained her where everything was gonna be. And after the call, I just started to clean the last minute stuff, pack our last minute thing that we needed for the hospital bags. It took us about an hour, so by the time we left, it was around 9. We left. We live an hour away to Montfort Hospital, which I was gonna give birth to. It was the longest ride I ever had. It was so painful. Each time I was bracing myself and hoping that Mathieu didn't have to do a crazy movement with the car at some point, or brake hard or anything like that, because it was hard. By the way, this is my cat, Barry. When we got at the hospital, I had to get in by myself and do the first COVID-19 screening, which is only to answer some questions. Afterwards, I got upstairs to the obstetric sections. They put me on the monitor to see how the contractions were going and watch her heart rates. Afterwards, they also checked my cervix. On the Monday, at my OB appointment, I was 1 centimeter, and at that point, I was at 3. And they said that, yes, I had some contraction going on, but they weren't painful enough to get me admitted. Although, they put me in a waiting room, and they let Mathieu's come upstairs with our stuff. They say, okay, come back to us in an hour and we'll check you again. In that waiting room, we were alone. We had a sink, 2 lazy boy, 2 chairs, a table, a yoga ball, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and we had a TV too, but I don't know if she was actually working. We didn't try it. We stayed there for the hour that they asked. My contractions were again about 3 minutes apart. They were getting really painful. At that point, I had to be like on my stomach, on the yoga ball, like on all knees, the belly on the ball, and just really breathe through them. Mathieu was helping me breathing. We did a few phone calls to their family saying that we were now in the hospital, we're waiting for a room, we're gonna be checked in an hour. So yeah, that's how the first hour went. I went back to get checked. At that point, I was still 3 centimeters, but it was a bit more effaced. So they sent me back and they told us to come back in an hour again. We wait an hour, I go back. They're too full. They don't have space to check me. Like I said, it's the full moon. So they didn't have space to check me again. They sent me back into the waiting room for another hour. Then I went back there, and each time they checked me, it was taking like half an hour to an hour, like it was a really long process. So by that point, it was when I got back in to the place where they're checking me. It was about 4 p.m. and we got to the hospital at 10 in the morning. Like it was making really long time. And at that point, the contractions were like so painful. They were 2 minutes apart. Like it was going crazy. So I went back after they told me to wait. And when they told me that they didn't have room and to wait again, so I went back an hour after they say that there's not enough room. It's about 4 p.m. They check me. They say that I'm still 3, completely effaced, but go in the waiting room again for an hour still. I go back, and at that point they're like, well, you can either go back in the waiting room or you can go back home. I'm like, if I'm going back home, it's 2-hour drive, like an hour coming, an hour going back. No, it's not worth it. So I went back in the waiting room. We were so pissed and defeated. Like I said, my contractions were like 2 minutes apart when I was in the waiting room, but when I went to get checked, for I don't know which reasons, they were spacing out to 3-4 minutes apart. It was crazy. But after that point, I went back for the 3rd time, where they checked me. I was 4.5 centimeters. And then they gave us a room. It was 5:30 p.m. when we finally got a room. So we got in. They asked me if I want the epidural or not. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's super painful, but I'm gonna try without it for now. I'm gonna try the bath because that was my original plan, to go for the bath and just try it as much as I could. I go there, like Mathieu have to actually help me to like get my clothes off, because at that point I was getting so weak and everything, like it was hurting so much. It was hurting not only in the front but all the way through the back. It was like the whole round thing, and I felt pressure. It wasn't fun. So I went in the bathroom. I do 2 to 3 contractions, which was, I think, not even 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, now I can't, please give me the epidural. I can't. It had to stop. They bring me to the bed. They put the IV in. It took about half an hour to get the epidural. So to get the epidural, they sit me up in the bed. I had to bend over and like on the nurse while the anesthetist do the epidural. And because of COVID-19, I was happy that I didn't have to go through the process of signing like multiple papers. I just had to give my oral consent. the anesthetist, when he started, he told me, if it hurts in your leg, say it to me. It doesn't happen a lot, but if it does, just say it. Man, he hit something, but on my right leg, it burned, it hurt. So he just stops and he put it back at the good spot, but it was so long. It didn't took long. It was pretty fast, but having contraction in that position, it hurts and it feels like an eternity. You just want it to be done. When it's done, they lay me on my back. About 5 minutes after, they asked me to tell them if I have some contractions that I'm feeling. I just told them I felt one right when you laid me back down on my back, and after that I didn't have any. They're like, okay, good. And then they tested the epidural with like putting ice on my stomach, from my chest to my stomach, just to make sure that it's not going too high. And of course it was getting a bit high, so they raised me up a bit, and then everything was fine. But about 15 minutes later, her heart rate started to get a bit whack. 4 nurses got in. They tried to move me in a different position to get her heart rate right. At some point, they were holding me like on hand and knees on the bed, trying to get it right. It didn't work. Afterwards, they put me on my back again. They called the OB that was on call to see what was going on, although they say that it's pretty normal. It happens a lot when you just get the epidural. The OB gets in. She's like, well, we're gonna break your water to see if it works, because sometimes the heart rate is just gonna go back to normal when you break the water. So that's what she does. And she's like, I'm gonna come back in an hour and check where we're at. After the OB left from breaking my water, I started to have the shakes like crazy. I felt like I had Parkinson. I also had some crazy acid reflex, like crazy. And I figured out that it was at each contractions. It wasn't great. I tried to ask for medication for it, but they wouldn't give me anything. Man, I also puked, but it was like black oil. It was so disgusting. Even my husband, he was like, what the hell is that? Where is it coming from? We don't understand. When the OB came back an hour later, to check my cervix, she gets in. She's like, wait, what? I don't understand. She gets back. I'll check again. She checks again. Yeah, you're 4.5. You passed from 4.55 to 10 in an hour. You're fully dilated now. But she found out that she was an OP baby, so she was facing the ceiling instead of my bottom, and she was still pretty high in the birth canal. Because of it, they decided to put a peanut ball between my legs and to give me 2 hours before pushing to let her getting lower and hoping that she would get in the right position. But all of that going so fast explains explained my shaking and why I puked. But yeah, we waited, and an hour and a half later, her heart rate started back to do some freaking. The nurse decided to not wait the 2 hours like the OB said before starting pushing. So we started to do practice pushing right away and get in the deal. But I still had some freaking gastric reflex. It was hard, and since it was each contractions, it was each time that I had to push, so I had that while pushing. And in the room, we didn't have to wear the mask. The only time I had to wear one, it was while I was pushing, and I could like lower it when, like, between the pushes, and put it back on while I push. So I told my nurse that I was still having those reflux, and she's like, you already got sick, you won't be sick again, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Maybe 15 minutes later, I got black sick again. But at that point, since she didn't thought that when I said that I was gonna get sick, she didn't trust me. I don't know. She didn't expect me to actually be sick, so she didn't get ready soon enough. I had some vomit, like, in my mask that was lower at that point, in my hair. Oh man, it wasn't fun. So afterwards I started back pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. After 2 hours of pushing, they said, because at that point, after an hour, the OB was there helping me push. An hour later, so at the 2-hour mark of pushing, the OB said, "You're not gonna be able to make it like that." She was still in OP position, and her forehead was hitting my pubic bone, so she couldn't get lower. They say you have some really good muscle to get her out, but she's just stuck there. We have to make something, or I'm not sure yet if we're gonna have to use the forceps or the vacuum, I think it's called. Like, it's something that you stuck on her head and they pull her. But she's like, okay, let me call the OB specialist for him. She calls him. He gets in the room with 6 other people. At that point, they were like 10 OB and nurse in the room. It was crazy, because her heart rate was still not good. And man, it was okay, something is going on. I was getting tired too for pushing for 2 hours, and I really didn't want to have a C-section. So I'm like, please do anything but just get her out. The specialist looked at the situation. He made me push once. He's like, okay, I see what's happening. I'm gonna do an episiotomy. So he asked me to put my hands behind my knees and to push. He gets in, turns the baby, cut, take her out. It took not 2 seconds. It went so fast. And when he did it, like, I got my knees like in my chest. Like, when he got in, he got in. At that point, I'm like, I'm so happy that I got the epidural, because it would have been like so painful to have all that happening with nothing. So they put her directly on my chest. She started crying like at the second. She also did her first meconium directly on me. Like, they put the baby meconium. It happened. Yeah, so that happened. Afterwards, it took like half an hour, I think, to do the stitches. Oh, yeah, she's waking up and she's not happy. But yeah, this is my birth story. And my husband, when the specialist took her out, he's super, everything is really hard for him with blood and stuff like that. So he's like, I'm gonna look at the floor just to not see everything. But he saw like all the water and the blood getting out of there, because it all like went directly on the floor. He was, oh man, poor guy. He went like white. Oh, yeah, it's fine. And when they asked him if he wanted to cut the umbilical cord, he's like, well, I seen everything. I might as well do it. Since I see everything, I might as well just do it. So he did. But after the whole procedure was finished, he looked at me and he's like, I bet you don't want to have any baby afterwards, eh? I'm like, what? It was a beautiful bird. He's like, we were in the same room. We laughed a lot about it. But yeah, it was a real beautiful bird. I'm so happy for everything. I'm happy to have this crazy, beautiful little girl with me. And for now, I think I'm just gonna say we'll see you in the next video. I'll probably be talking about either breastfeeding or my journey in the hospital stay or something like that. We'll see. If you have any suggestions, just tell me in the comments below. You can also subscribe to my channel, or just like this video, like or share this video if you like it. So thanks and have a wonderful day. And mama, please bear with me. I just woke up and I'm wondering if we're gonna have a white Halloween this year. It's actually snowing already.